Hello, welcome to a new episode of Living in the Good Space. My name is Annette Johnson, the host. I say this all the time. I'm really excited about the conversation that I'm going to have today. You know, recently, my husband and I decided to get the vaccine. We got the J&J vaccine. And I had been one of those people that said, I will never get the vaccine. And you know that old saying, never say never. I said I wasn't going to get it. And then after having conversations with people that work in a variety of roles in the medical profession, and then having people affected in our immediate circle and losing people, I changed my mind. And we decided that we were going to get vaccinated. And so I have a couple of shows that I'm going to be dedicating to this conversation because I want to share information. It's not my place to strong arm people into getting the vaccine. It is a personal choice, but to the extent that I can use this platform to share information that might help someone make a decision, then that's what I want to do. And so that's what this show is about today. I'm talking to a respiratory therapist, and let me tell you a little bit about who she is. Malori Clarke-Cameron is the Director of Respiratory Care and the Sleep Lab at St. Michael's Medical Center in Newark, New Jersey. She graduated with a bachelor's in respiratory care from Long Island University. She's an adjunct professor at LIU, a COPD educator, and we're going to find out what that means, and a guest lecturer for the Rutgers Nurse Practitioner Program. And as she states, she is a lifelong advocate for lung health. So we're going to pick her brain, learn more about, how to practice better lung health care, and find out more about the impact of COVID on our lungs. So help me welcome Malori Clarke-Cameron. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. So full disclosure, this is family, y'all. And I was saying to Mallory before, I don't think we've sat down and really had an in-depth conversation. So I'm so excited that you were able to be a guest on the show today. And I know you're passionate about this work that you do in terms of lung health care. And so I can't wait to, share information with our listeners today that might help them on this journey.
Me too.
And so I want to start with a very, very simple question. Tell us what a respiratory therapist is and what they do.
Most people, when they think of respiratory therapists, they think, oh, they're the people that give out nebulizers and breathing treatments to everybody. But there's so much more that we do. We give out treatments, but we also manage ventilators. People who are intubated, people who have trachs and are on trach collars. We work with speech therapists to help those patients who have the trachs in their throats to learn how to speak, to learn how to eat, to learn how to swallow. And then there's the education that goes into it. I was a cardiothoracic respiratory therapist for the first 6 years of my career.
Okay.
So I was working in open heart, which I thought was really exciting.
Wow.
And then from there, I went to trauma and medical ICU and surgical ICU. And I did a round in the neonatal ICU and the pediatric ICU.
Mm-hmm.
But my love was always in open heart. Like cardiac was just so exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much that we can do, whether it's education, smoking cessation, just there's just so many things, like just teaching people how to do what they can to get the most out of their lungs, and it's something, the things that they can do are just so easy. And after all these years, I think educating has been one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. And so when do you get connected to a patient, right? Is it through an ER situation, or, is it somebody gets referred to you as a specialist? Like, tell us how you get connected to a patient who needs your care.
We can meet them in the emergency room. We're definitely going to see them if they're in the ICUs. If they're on the floors, we're going to see them, maybe even if it's something as simple as the incentive spirometers, which for anybody who's had any type of surgery, they give that little handheld thing to you with the straw, and you put it in your mouth, and you inhale, and what it does
Mhm.
is it helps to open up your lungs.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we can see you that way. We can see you outpatient for a pulmonary function test to
Mhm.
see just how good you're breathing with your lungs or how well your lungs are doing.
Mhm.
Um, and then we could see you outpatient for something like a bronchoscopy, where we would be with a pulmonologist who would go in with a scope and look at the inside of your lungs to
Mhm.
see what's going on. So we'll see a inpatient, outpatient, outside, on the streets. I mean, anywhere.
Yeah. I got to experience the whole lung care situation up close and personal. As you know, my mom has had some bouts and she's been in and out. She was on a ventilator, I want to say maybe 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And, I completely freaked out because my understanding is that if a person goes on a ventilator, they don't come off, right? That's kind of what I've heard. And so I just thought, okay, this is it. And she did come off. She had some great doctors that were caring for her. So is that true? Is that just a myth? Like what? Because I feel like especially even talking about COVID now, the whole conversation about ventilators and the need for ventilators, and
Hmm.
what kind of insight can you share?
It's not one of those things that when you get put on it, you're gonna stay on it for the rest of your life. One of the reasons that someone's going on is because they're usually having some sort of acute attack.
Hmm.
For whatever reason, they're not ventilating properly.
Hmm.
Um, so it could be something like an asthma attack, a severe asthma attack, where they can't get air in or out.
Hmm.
So they need the ventilator to breathe for them and to take that over until their lungs stop spasming.
Hmm.
You know, in times of COVID, we have had a lot of patients who were on ventilators, and we've had patients who have come off of them.
Hmm.
It's usually a longer process
Hmm.
with that, but it's not a death sentence, and it's not something that you're going to stay on. And that was, and sorry to cut you off, but that was
No.
all that was always my thought. And
Yeah.
the I think the first time that it really showed me that it wasn't was with Aunt Lou,
Hmm.
because she was on a ventilator,
Hmm.
and I remember going to the hospital to see her,
Hmm.
and I had the same thought process as a kid in high school, and I said, she's not going to come off.
Hmm.
And then 2 days later, she was talking to us.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of realized, I kind of like this. I'm gonna have to look into this and see what's going on. So,
You mentioned Aunt Lou. Oh my goodness, you just took me back. Oh my goodness, you took me way, way, way back. My Aunt Lou, Lord have mercy, I love that woman.
yes.
Um, but so that was the situation with my mom.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, I was just terrified because I thought that it was a death sentence, to be quite honest, and that
Hmm.
she wasn't going to come off. And then with all the talk about COVID and ventilators, I just thought, oh my goodness, this is bad.
Hmm.
But talk to us about COVID. Like how has COVID affected the work and the treatment that you provide for patients?
Um, it's it was the unknown for all of us when it first happened. So for literally the first year,
Mm,
um, and even, I mean, now we're still learning
yeah.
about it. Um, and because there was no documented work that we could refer to say this is how you treat it,
Hmm.
we were just trying anything that we could
Hmm.
to keep these people with us.
Hmm.
And it was, sometimes it worked for one person, and another time it didn't work for somebody else, and it literally became, what works,
Right.
what can we do to keep them to keep them alive,
Hmm.
to keep them from not needing to go on a ventilator.
Hmm.
And I think the biggest issue that we had was that something that would work for one person would not work for somebody else, you
Wow.
know. And one of my professors and lifelong friends, he said, I think something that just is so profane to what has gone on, profound to what has gone on, is that the body didn't read the book.
Mhm.
And the body didn't read the book, and this virus didn't read the book. So we're literally writing the book from day to day.
But
Yeah.
isn't that the whole stress of this situation is
Yeah.
that not only like it's one thing for you to be sick and not know what's going on with you, but then when the doctors don't know, who are the ones who are supposed to, help save your life and help you be better, like that's another whole situation. And I think that right there has been the stress about all of this is the unknown
Yes.
and every case being treated as if it was the absolute first
Mhm.
case. And I think what you said is very telling is that situation where you do something and it works for this person,
Mhm.
but you can't trust and rely that it's going to work for the next person.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
And
frightening.
it's frightening and it's frustrating and it's disheartening. And, there were just a lot of nights where I or friends and coworkers who were in the midst of all of it, we would just sit down at the end of the day and just go, well, what's going to work?
Yeah.
And there was frustration, there were tears of frustration, there were tears of sadness, there was a feeling of hopelessness for a while, but you did that at the end of your shift
Hmm.
because you knew for those 8, 12, 16, however many hours that you were working, that you needed to be there for those people, and you needed to show them that you were strong enough and that you were going to fight for them no matter what.
Hmm.
And even if it ended up not being a good day, you still kept that face on until you walked out of the hospital.
Hmm. Hmm.
And some days were really, really good. I mean, there were days where we were able to get people off of ventilators, and then there were days where you know we were having code blue, code blue, code blue, one after
Hmm.
another, and the outcomes were not good. It was a roller coaster ride. It really was.
Even up to preparing for the podcast today,
Mhm.
my husband got a call. A close friend of ours passed away from
Oh,
complications of COVID. We had
oh,
just found out that he had COVID a couple of days ago, maybe earlier in the week. And of course, when you hear that, especially people of a certain age, and you know that they have, other health issues that they've been dealing with, my heart sunk when,
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I just prayed that he makes it through this. And we found out today that he did not.
Mm,
And so my question to you is because it's, there are people who get it and it's like, oh, it was nothing.
mhm,
It was like a mild case of the flu or it was like a bad cold.
mhm.
And then there are other people like my friend who did not make it through. What can you share with us? My concern is that we still are taking it too lightly. I'm sure that your concern as a medical profession, that's all we hear about on the news, is that we're just still taking it too lightly because maybe we know people that had it and it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, what can you share with us in terms of the impact? Like, if it gets into your lungs and becomes severe,
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
what's
It's
the impact?
First off, let me say how sorry I am for the loss of
Thank
your
you.
friend.
Thank you.
Um, if it gets into your lungs, you know, for at one point we were saying if you had any type of comorbidity, you know, and you get COVID, there's a real risk that you're going to end up with a really bad case of it.
Mhm.
And that's the pattern that we were seeing for a long time. And then we started seeing 30, 20, 40-year-olds that started coming down with it. And they didn't have any type of comorbidities,
Mhm.
healthy people that were running 5, 6 miles a day and they
Mhm.
just got hit. And I, it's very frustrating when you see people who are like, oh, whatever, it's not going to get me. no, it may not get you, but it may get your grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
may get your sibling,
Mm-hmm.
and we've all experienced loss from COVID in this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that if there's nothing that I can stress more, it's practice the social distancing, wear the mask, um, wash your hands, keep hand sanitizer, like the cloths, the
Mm-hmm.
washcloths, keep them in your car.
Mm-hmm.
Lysol is starting to make its way back in, so if you can find a spray, make sure you pick it up
Mm-hmm.
and just listen to what the doctors are saying. Science is going to get us through this.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I hear people who say, I don't believe what the scientists say about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to listen to them. And
Mm-hmm.
all I want to say is, okay, so you do realize that when you get that headache, and you take that Tylenol, a scientist made that. So if you don't believe in science, then don't take the
Hello.
Tylenol.
Hello.
Don't take the NyQuil. Don't do this, don't do that, because all of that is science.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in one, then you shouldn't believe in anything.
But I always like I'm fascinated with people. Me saying that I didn't want to take the vaccine was
Mhm,
never about me not believing that COVID was real and
mhm,
that it could be detrimental for me
mhm,
personally. So it was never about that. And I'm just fascinated with people who just don't even believe that it's real.
mhm.
I had someone come to my home to do some a house repair.
Uh-huh.
And so I opened the door, no masks,
Mm.
no booties on the feet. And most people that I've been dealing with, they have the little booties on their feet when they come
Mhm.
in. They have a mask on. And so this guy shows up with no mask. And I said, oh, do you not have a mask? Because I have some, I can give you one. He goes, oh God, don't tell me you believe in that
Oh.
COVID crap. This is what he says to me. Don't tell me you believe in that COVID crap.
Oh.
And I said, okay, let's start over. How are you, sir? And if you would like to do this job, I'm going to need you to put on a mask. And if
Mhm,
you're not comfortable doing that, I understand. And I
mhm.
will call someone else to come. Oh, whatever you want, he says. So I gave him a mask and he put the mask on. But I thought,
Come
are
on.
you serious? Are you kidding me?
Mhm,
And so to hear people say that, to hear the stories on TV, after all of these, what is it, 500,000 people
mhm,
dying?
mhm.
It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Um, and so I want to shift to the vaccine part of this conversation. And like I said in the beginning, I'm not here to, beat someone over the head and say, you better take the vaccine. I realize how personal that is, how personal
Mhm.
of a choice that is. But I'd like to hear your thoughts as somebody who is a lung care, um, health professional. What are your thoughts about the vaccine and people taking the vaccine?
I am all for it. Uh, the taking the vaccine is probably the best prevention that you can have against protecting yourself and possibly others that you're going to be around. Um, the tests have been proven that anybody who has taken pretty much any of the vaccines are not having those critical cases where they're going to end up in ICUs
Mhm,
or they're going to end up on a ventilator.
mhm,
Um, and everybody's like, oh, well, if I get the vaccine, I'm going to get COVID. No, you're not. There is not any part of a dead virus in that.
mhm,
It's done with a messenger RNA.
mhm,
So what it does is it's injected into the body and it makes the body believe that COVID is there.
mhm,
And the white blood cells and the antibodies come in and they start to attack it to
mhm,
prevent to start creating a defense
mhm,
against it.
mhm,
So at no point in time is COVID ever in your body.
mhm.
And I mean, everybody's like, oh, they just miraculously came up with this vaccine.
Yes.
What people don't understand is this group that created the vaccine has been working on different types of vaccines for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
They've been working on the genetic makeups of all of these different viruses, and they've been testing things.
Mm-hmm.
So literally all they needed was the genetic makeup of COVID, pop it into their what the plan that they had,
Mm-hmm.
and then all they had to do was run tests and see what worked.
Mm-hmm.
And it took them a while because first we had to find out what the genetic makeup of the COVID-19 virus was.
Right.
And once they got that, then it literally just became trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
What certain sequence of messenger RNA is going to create the response in the body that we want?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when they found it, I mean, honestly, I was trying to sign up for the testing, to be in that trial,
Yeah.
because if I was going to be that person that it was going to work for, I wanted to help. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be there because we were seeing too many people die. We were seeing too many people get sick. I mean, I've been to enough funerals online
Mm-hmm.
because of people who have died from this.
Mm-hmm.
And I, I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you get to a point where you're like, enough is enough. We now have the means to fight this
Mm-hmm.
and to get rid of it, and everybody's just got to do their part. you know?
Yeah, tired is an understatement. I mean, tired of the loss, tired of being on
Mhm.
lockdown,
Yeah.
tired of, things just not making sense.
Mhm.
Going back to well, this worked for this person, but it's not working for that person.
Yes.
Just tired of so much. But I think it was Dr. Fauci that I was listening to one day who said, being able to ramp up the speed at which we can make vaccines available during pandemics, because the life of pandemics is not going away. If
Mm-mm.
it's not this, it will be something else.
Mhm.
That's a good thing, not a bad thing. Like, we can't afford to wait 2 and 3 decades to be able to respond to these types of viruses. So I'm so glad you said that about this has been in the makings for 20 years, because he talked about how, people didn't just wake up one day and go into a lab and say, well, let's just play around and see if we can come up. Like, these scientists are always thinking about
Mhm.
these vaccines, and that they're always working on these, because that's the world that we live in.
Mhm.
And that's just the nature of life. Like, they can't stop thinking about this and then wait for something to hit and then say, okay, let's go in and see what we can cook up. They
Yeah.
have to always be thinking about this.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So how do you take care of yourself? Because I I mean, I can't imagine doing this day in and day out. And I know the good days are when you save lives, but then there are those days where people don't make it. How do you take care of yourself, keep your energy up, stay positive?
um, it was kind of dark for a while. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there were times where I was pulling almost 20 hours at work, and then coming home, sleeping for maybe 6, and then going back
Mhm,
into it, and not really doing much else because I didn't have the energy to.
mhm,
And, luckily enough for me, I have a good a good core
mhm,
of family and friends that just they just listened, and it wasn't like they were like, so what happened today or anything like that. The simple question of how are you doing?
yeah.
And it's once you get that question, it's just like diarrhea of the mouth. And you're like, you just everything's coming out. This patient did this today, and da, 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 and you're just
Mhm,
going on, and before you know it, you take a breath and you go, have I really been talking for an hour and you haven't said anything? And they're like, we just needed to know that you're okay, and we know that you needed to talk and get it out. And the support of my family has been absolutely wonderful.
yeah.
I don't think that I would have made it through this if I didn't have them. And my biggest fear was bring it home to them.
Mm, yeah.
So, we had, once we started getting our first patients in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
um, we came up with a plan. We had sat down and said, all right, when COVID finally does come, because we knew it was going to come,
Mm-hmm.
these are the things that we're going to do to put in place in the hospital so that you guys stay safe and
Yeah.
I can stay safe and I
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm doing something that could potentially harm you. So it was literally, I came through the door, I stripped on the porch, I went straight to the shower, took my clothes downstairs into the basement. I had them wrapped in plastic bags
Wow.
and just left them there. And then I would wash the clothes in hot water,
Mm-hmm.
and like the color safe bleach, just to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you got everything out,
Yeah.
because they didn't know what, how long it would stay on your clothes. Everything was kind of variant at that point. And luckily enough,
Mm-hmm.
knock on wood, I never did bring it home
Mm-hmm.
to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know they've just always kept, or tried to keep it as light in the house as they possibly could for me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they knew the dark stuff we were seeing in
Yeah.
the hospital.
Yeah.
So when we came home, it was like, all right, all serious stuff goes away.
Yeah.
We're just going to sit, we're going to watch something absolutely stupid on TV and just laugh, or just talk about something, or even play a game, just to keep it light from the darkness that was on the outside.
You
So
know, I'm so glad you shared that because I don't think we fully appreciate that. People who are in the medical care profession, we don't fully appreciate that because not only are you taking care of people that are in this, right, and going
Mhm.
through it, but you also are worried about protecting your own family
Yeah.
because you're spending 12, 15, 20 hours in the very place where everybody is sick.
Hmm.
And then you have to go back home to your families. And so I can't even imagine the level of stress, associated with that because
Hmm.
you've got to take care of yourself while you're taking care of other people and take care of your family at the same time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that can be very, very stressful. I did a show recently. It's actually going to be airing soon. A woman who is a breath instructor, certified breath instructor, and an organization that she works with, they work with hospitals in Minneapolis to
Hmm.
help patients build lung capacity,
Hmm.
and especially patients who have COVID.
Hmm.
And so they do these deep breathing exercises. So I want to ask you, what are some things that we can do? I know you cannot predict anything that will prevent us from getting COVID. But like, what are some of the things that we can do from a lung healthcare perspective to kind of keep our lungs healthy and that lung capacity strong?
Um, Honestly, right now the weather's nice.
Mm,
If you can get to a track, or even if you walk around town,
mm-hmm,
just walk. You know, uh, what we're seeing now with a lot of patients who have COVID is that they're losing up to 50% of their lung function, if
mm,
not more,
mm-hmm,
from it.
mm-hmm,
Um, and on top of the lung problems that they're having, they're also having cardiac issues. And the heart and lung, they always work together. So if
mm-hmm.
one's working at half capacity, the other one's got to pick up the pace.
Right.
If you've got two or three organs that are not working how they should, then it's not good. So for these people who have a diminished lung capacity or diminished lung function,
Mm-hmm,
exercise. I'm not saying go out and try and run a mile on your first day,
mm-hmm,
but walk around the block,
mm-hmm,
see how you feel.
mm-hmm,
If you're good that first day, the second day, walk around the block and maybe an extra couple of feet.
mm-hmm,
Just increase each day. Push yourself, but don't
mm-hmm.
push yourself to the point that you're going to set yourself back and you're going to be laid up at home for weeks on end.
Right.
But exercise is one of the most important things that you can do
Mm-hmm,
to help with your lung health,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and uh, stop smoking.
Well,
Smoking, vaping, any of
I,
that stuff.
I don't even like to be around, I don't want to be anywhere near secondhand
Hmm.
smoke. I am a reformed smoker. So when I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, it's 34 years now.
Hmm.
I never forget. I went to the doctor's office. I thought I had the flu. Found out I was pregnant,
Hmm.
and I had a half a pack of Newport in my pocketbook. And before I left the doctor's office, I took them out and I threw them in the trash can, and have never looked back. I can't imagine if I was a smoker today.
Mm. Yeah.
And I had asthma. And so one of the things, yeah, right, was I suicidal or what? But one of the things that made me change my mind about getting the vaccine was my own underlying issues with asthma
Mm.
as a child. And I go to a pulmonologist regularly. I get my lungs checked because it's something that can come back.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that was one of the determining factors for me. I thought, okay, this is a lung disease, so it gets in your lungs. And if you already have lung issues, that's a no-brainer. Like that's
Yeah.
just not gonna turn out well. And so
Yeah.
that was one of the things after talking with my doctor. I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get over my fear of the vaccine because my fear of getting it far outweighs the fear, of the vaccine.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, so this is a question I ask everybody who comes on my show.
Oh.
What does living in the good space mean to you?
Ah, it's I think living in the good space for me is a place where I have no worries, and I can just relax.
Mm,
It's been a while, you
yeah.
know, since I've really been able to relax, but I'm almost at that point now, even with the way that it still is,
Hmm.
with the support of my family, my friends, my coworkers, my employees,
Hmm.
they know and I know that we've got each other's backs.
Hmm.
So if something were to happen and it gets to an explosion of COVID again,
Hmm.
I told them, I said, before I was your director, I was a respiratory therapist first. And the thing is, that's where I started my career. So I know the majority of the people
Hmm.
that are now my employees.
Hmm.
So I wear scrubs to work every day just in case I have to get in that room.
Right.
So I I'm ready for it,
Hmm.
and I'm not worried about it because I know that we've got the ways and the means now,
Hmm.
and we've learned so much in the last year
Hmm.
that we're we're seeing that light at the end of the tunnel.
Hmm.
And just knowing all of that, it's definitely kind of put me in this space where now I can go to sleep at night and not wake up
Hmm.
worried about what am I going to see today.
Right.
And I think right now I am in that good space. I can laugh, I
Hmm.
can, you know, sit and talk about a million and one different things. And even 2 weeks ago, we went to brunch, and the best thing about it was we had 10 people at brunch, and every one of them had been vaccinated.
Wow. Yeah.
So, it was just like, wow, we're all sitting around and we all, everybody was like,
Yeah.
here's my card, here's my card, here's my card. It was, there's hope. And
Yeah.
I think, I talk about hope a lot, and that's really the good space for me.
Mm.
Knowing that the hope that I have is getting here.
Hmm.
You know, we're we have a vaccine.
Yeah.
We have different treatments that we can do for these people, and you know, there's so many good things that are coming out of this,
Hmm.
that that's it's just it's making a change,
Hmm.
and making that change is what's going to get not only me but everybody else back to their good space, because we're all kind of on edge right now waiting.
Yeah.
And, we just got to round that corner and, just run with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's fun to be doing what I'm doing, and knowing that we're making a difference. And when I come out of that hospital every day, I know that I'm making a difference in one way or another, and that helps me get to that good space.
Wow. Thank you so much for taking time to have this conversation with me. You know, I was going to ask you for some parting words, but I think those are the parting words. I was going to say, what would you like to share? But I think you just shared it right there, is that we've got to hold on to hope. We're turning a corner. We're at such a significant place right now with all of this, and we've got to hang in there and not give up, and trust the doctors and trust the process, so that we can start to feel a little sense of normalcy again, if that's even possible. I personally feel like this is the new norm. Like, we're going to always have to be managing and being proactive about our health, and being prepared. There's all these variants that are out here now, you know what I mean? So we still have to be on guard, and we still have to be prepared. And we've got to encourage one another along this journey too. And so let me just say this to you. I saw your interview. You were interviewed on one of the local news channels. And I was just so proud to see you on that, and talking about the work that you're doing at St. Michael's. And St. Michael's Medical Center is a staple in the Newark community. That hospital has been around for, I don't know, how many years?
Well over 100 years, I want to say.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
And I mean, at one point, I thought I heard in the news that it could possibly be closing. So I'm
Yeah.
so happy to know that it's still here, still resourced in the community, and that you're a part of that. And so something happens to me, I'm going to say, take me to St. Michael's, and I want to see Mallory Cameron. I'm going to be calling your name out like my mother used to do when you used to pass. When she used to see you at the hospital and call you out. That's
Yes.
exactly what I'm going to be doing.
You can. That sounds
Yeah.
good.
But I just want to say thank you and your team. I don't know them, but I'm pretty sure they're a solid, wonderful team you're at the helm of. I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you do. And for keeping a smile on your face, and for being positive, and for, through your actions, and just through who you are as a person, I'm sure that you are dropping and showering people with hope each and every day that you go into that hospital, and making them feel better and more comfortable about the situation. So thank you for being on the front line. Thank you for everything that you do. And I'm so glad that you're doing well. You're vaccinated. The family's doing well. And I'm just happy that you're a part of this experience, because I know that people who come in contact with you, they're going to be in good shape.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're only as strong as your team.
yeah.
And the one thing I could say is I've got a great team.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
So
And they've got a great leader.
yeah, thank you very much. They keep me grounded. They do.
Well, thank you so much, cuz I appreciate this conversation, and stay safe.
Thank you very much.